Welcome back everyone to episode 28. I know it's episode 28 because I've just re-recorded this clip and watched it back and realised I said episode 27 and I've already done 27, so this is definitely 28. Okay, in the previous episode, 27, you saw me take the cross member out and start cleaning that up. In the background I've gone ahead and carried on doing that, and I'll show you a couple of clips of where I've got to with it. The focus of this episode is to take apart the front suspension and brakes. I'm going to basically focus on this side, and this is what you'll see all the clips of. Basically because the other side is blocked by a workbench and I can't really get to it at the moment. But what I plan to do is I'll move the workbench out of the way and do that work kind of off camera because there's no point you seeing it twice. I fought for about an hour to get the wheel off. When I bought the car I had 4 new tyres, but one of them wasn't holding air. So I was getting some other tyres changed on my other car. So I took that wheel off and took it down there, and they've managed to reseat the tyre and that holds pressure now, so that's really good. So let's crack on the episode. As ever, please subscribe, leave comments and likes. Both comments and likes really help my videos become visible on YouTube, which helps me get more followers and keeps me motivated and all that stuff. But let's get on with this one and see where we go. Okay, so in true Todd fashion, I've not read anything about this or looked up anything at all. I did watch one video of a chap removing this front strut, which looked pretty straightforward. It was on mute because it was late in the evening, but I think I know what to do. I've undone the bolts at the top. The bolt at the bottom here is only just, well, it's there. I don't know, I think you probably can see that on camera. I've been over this with my penetrating oil, my special concoction of acetate and acetone and automatic transmission fluid, 50-50. It penetrates everything. I must say, when I first read it, I thought, it's not going to work. It really does. So I think what I'm just going to do is dive in. No point reading much, is there? I've got blocks of wood in case things drop down, which I believe that's the lower cross member, I believe. You've got a lower and upper, haven't we? These two. I want to get this spring out. So I've undone the bolts. I can see this is obviously the main securing. I might bring you a little closer so you can see when it drops and breaks my fingers. Alright, that's better. You can see a little bit more this way. So I'm taking out this bolt here at the bottom. I'd like that. I don't know actually what's going to hold this up then. Okay, I do need a bit of wood under that because nothing's going to hold that lower cross member up. Right, so he's supported like that. That's the lower suspension strut bolt, which I want to put back in the hole so I don't lose it. I like to take things off and put them back in the same hole. I know I've got it safe that way. Right, so we're taking out these 2 bolts at the bottom here. That should allow this lower control arm, to drop out. This one here. I'm supporting it with a piece of wood at the moment. I don't like it. It's quite a lot of weight by the looks of it. Sort of hanging on a couple of little bolts. Well, I guess little's relative, but there we are. I'll show you this because I think it's funny. It's just one of the classic sort of things I get into. So this nut I need to undo. So I managed to get my long socket set on it. And I managed to get it to undo. So that nut is now looser. But obviously undoing it now has meant that I can't get the socket set off. So now I need to tighten it back up, get the socket set off, and then go back at it with probably a spanner or something. At least it's loose, but it's just comical. I seem to always do this sort of thing. But I'll sort that out. So that would be this, I think this is the steering control arm, whatever you want to call it. then there's only one other nut the other side that is then stopping me from taking off that. I think that will be, let me just think. I'll be able to get the lower control arm off. Well, it'll be a good step towards taking the whole assembly off, actually. I think today I'll continue the restoring of the cross member. I've gone over it with the wire brush. It's largely got the rust off. I've then sort of filed sort of specifically the areas where the rust was quite bulky and wouldn't come off with the wire brush. But generally, I'm going to give it another quick going over now. Generally, it's not too bad. I'm then going to treat it with the rust. I think it changes rust back to metal, but I'm not sure exactly what it does. Obviously, some kind of chemical reaction. But I'm going to treat that and leave it outside in the sun to dry. And then we can either, I don't know if I'll paint it or spray it black. Still yet to decide. But generally, that's coming along. There are a few things more boring than watching paint dry. Watching paint being painted is probably one of them. So I've saved you the effort. That's the cross member with its first coat of black, and that's the little bit that goes underneath the cross member, sort of secures and keeps the steering rack sort of clean. It basically, that mounts underneath that. So I'm going to leave them to dry. I'll give them a couple of coats, then turn them over, do the other sides, and then that can be put aside and ready for reassembly. Okay, so I did my bit of reading. I need a ball joint separator to get these two ball joints undone. So I'll order one of those, but it's going to take a little while. In the meantime, I'm going to take the caliper off, take the disc off. That'll let me get this stone guide off, and then I think with a lot of that off, I can probably drop the strut down, or the spring and shock. I don't think it's called a strut for some reason. We can get that out, and then we can start working out what we do with that. I can clean up at the top of the damper is sort of quite corroded as well, so that could do with a tidy up. I think just we'll be in a better place. Some of the this brake line that comes into the caliper is, I've managed to undo that. I've not undone it at the other end. I'll probably replace that flexible cable anyway. But let's try and get the caliper undone. It's a big mistake undoing all of this lower control arm first, because if you watch, each time I try and put any torque on the bolt here, let's get on there, the whole thing wants to turn, and then I'm worried that that's going to put sort of undue stress on the ball joints. Okay, I'm going to be replacing them, but either way, it's not something I really am very comfortable doing. So I definitely recommend leaving that lower control arm bolted up. I'll have a little look, see if I can do it without re-bolting it, but it might be the easiest thing, just to sort of stick a couple of bolts in just to hold that all back up again. Right, I've got one of the caliper bolts out, actually using a impact driver. It's a driver I borrowed off a friend months and months ago. It's probably a year ago now. And not actually used. I've never found it any use, but here it gets okay, so that's the caliper sort of hung out the way. I'm not sure you can see where I've hung it. Hopefully you can see what I'm playing with there. So caliper's down here now, just hanging a bit of wire through the wheel arch, but that's the hole that the brake line comes through actually, so it's a good enough place. Right now, we can turn our attention to getting the disc off. So, that's only a little tiny screw anyway. Probably very hot little screw. And the other side. Surprisingly small. Look how small that is to hold that disc on. Right. Now I think that hub comes off now. Let's just give it a tap. Right, I've paused a minute again because I thought taking out these two screws, which you notice they're not sort of opposite sides of the hub, that would be across here, they're across there. So I was expecting another one here somewhere. Taking those two screws out, I thought you could just tap the entire disc off, but it doesn't come off. And I'm just going to go look up whether these studs come off with it or whether they stay on the assembly, on the hub. I can't tell. They're very gunked up around sort of, at the base of them. So I'm suspecting the disc comes off, leaving these studs in place, but the disc can't come off because it's so sort of corroded here. So I've sprayed it with my penetrating oil. I'll leave it for a while I go and read up quickly. But we get in there slowly. I think once that's off, then I'm going to, while I wait for the ball joint separator, I'll drop the suspension strut down through the upper control arm up there. I think it may be too dark. Oh, there we are. Through that, I should be able to clear the lower control arm, and then I've got the suspension strut out of the way, and we can sort of look through what we do with that. Okay, so I've looked it up. The disc will come off. It just needs a little bit of persuading. The studs stay in place, and this part and this come away. So I'm just going to go around and heat each of the studs a little bit, just to free up the corrosion or whatever gunk is inside there. Okay, there's another route we can do, which is alright, these are threaded screws. Let me just check they are. So these 8mm threaded holes here, I can evenly screw a bolt in, which will force it off. We could try that. Sounds like fun. Let's see if this works. Apparently, if you do it evenly, this will gently pry the caliper off. Not caliper, sorry, the disc off. Right. And probably 13mm. You can hear it pulling it, or pushing it, that's what it actually is doing, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know if you can see actually. Let me zoom you in because it's quite interesting. It's quite useful. Zoom you right in and I'll rotate it so you can see what I'm looking at. If you look here, the torch so it's shining on it, hopefully you can see. If you watch carefully, I'll have to put the torch down unfortunately. Hopefully it's still bright enough for you to be able to see. Can you see the disc coming away? So if you just watch along the stud, that one. Just pulling it, so just keep doing it evenly like that, and it's forcing itself away. It's a good little trick. I think that was a Renless tip. There we go. Let's take these off. So everything I do on this side, I'll repeat on the other side, but obviously to do that I need to, wow. So it's basically non-existent on this part. It's had some pretty bad weathering, hasn't it? So typically I did some amazing work to remove this dust cover from the hub there. And then found out that the camera wasn't on. Basically that is seated in there. I tried various sort of techniques to pull it out, but I couldn't do it. There is a special tool you can get which sort of goes like that on it, and then you use a slide hammer to pull it out that way. What I did, I sprayed it with my penetrating oil, left it a little while, gave it a good going over with the gas torch, and then I just went around it with a piece of metal. I think you can probably see, just tapping it with a little tap, round and round, just rotating it each time, and in the end it came out, no real problems. Then I've gone over it with some brake cleaner just to sort of spray it out so we can see what's going on inside there. There is a 6mm hex bolt. Let's clean this off. You sort of line up this little access point that allows you to get a 6mm hex Allen key sort of in there like that, and then this should slide off, or I think it rotates off, probably, I'm not sure if it's, yeah, it screws on, so we just unscrew it off. And then the whole hub assembly should come away. And doing this route means we're going to have to replace the bearings, which probably isn't a bad thing to do anyway. So that's that sort of collar. Just find somewhere to put them all. Now if I'm correct, yeah, this comes off. So there's one of the bearings coming out there. We'll inspect that later. Again, I'll just put them on the floor for a second on a sheet of tissue. And that's the whole hub assembly off now, as you can see. And now I can finally take off that stone guard, the remains of the stone guard. And we're just left with this, I think it's called the knuckle. It's an expensive bit, you want to replace that, about £1,300 from Design 911. I won't be doing that, I'll give it a good clean up. What I'm going to have to do with the hub is press out the, or drive out the, chase out I think is the term, the bearings, and basically renew. I've just been sizing up replacement kits. They're not horrendous, so it shouldn't be too bad. Right. So what I'm looking at now is to take the caliper away from the car. I'm just removing this retaining clip because that allow me, if I can get it out, that will allow me to take the, there we are. Right, let's get that piece out of the way. So this can come out the way now, which has got the wear sensor on. I think you can see, let me just check. You can tell I'm checking on you. So the wear sensor out the way. Now this pipe, I'm rotating the whole caliper because I can't undo it at the other end at the moment. I've got a bowl ready because it will probably have some brake fluid in. If it hasn't, I'd like to know why. So let's keep rotating the caliper around. And any second that should come free. I'll replace these flexible cables with probably braided cables. Okay, not a lot coming out of there. So that's the caliper off. Let me just get this so you can see it. Hopefully you can see it. Pretty old, pretty worn. The pads actually, strange enough, are pretty good condition. But everything needs replacing, so it's not really a problem. What I'm going to do is I'll get these sandblasted and then paint them, spray them up. New pads, obviously bleed brakes, and off we go. Okay, I'm going to call time on this video. I'm trying to squeeze this in before I go away on holiday. I think it's quite a good place to stop though as well. We've got the caliper off, the disc off, the hub off, the bearings sort of starting to come out. I've got all of that front suspension, obviously the cross members out. The majority of the front suspension is undone. I've still got the sort of hub spindle to undo, but I'm letting that soak for a while. But generally, I think we've pretty much disassembled most of it. Obviously that the spring and gas strut will drop out, and then I need to take that apart. I've got some spring clamps to hold that so we can undo all of that. The reason that I've got a number of these sort of jobs half done is because I'm building up a big list of things to buy. And I'm kind of fed up buying small bits each time. You know, each time I pay about £10 postage. So I'm trying to build up lists of everything I need, and then I'll buy a lump in one go. I'm conscious, you know, I'm halfway through the very top of the engine with the intake and all of those clamps. I've got the cross member. I'm not waiting for anything on that, but obviously I'll only put it in once the suspension's done. I've got the fueling system. I'm still waiting for a few pipes and things to resolve. Things like the anti-roll bar that's sort of sitting here. That's got a lot of 2 bushes I'm waiting for this big order to go through. And obviously with the brake caliper, I've got the discs to get a piston rebuild set that will then need to be sandblasted. What else? You know, there's a lot of bits, so I'm just saving them all up to buy them in one go. Anyway, enough rambling. As ever, thank you for watching. I'll not be around for a week or so, probably a little bit longer. So the next video will probably take 10 days or something like that. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.